Chapter 25. And Yahweh spake with Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they shall set apart, take, before me a separation, of every one whose heart is willing, but not by constraint. Ye shall take my separation. And this is the separation which ye shall take of them: gold, and silver, and brass, and hyacinth, and purple, and crimson, and fine linen, and goats' skins, and skins of rams dyed red, and purpled skins, and woods of sittim, and olive oil for the light, and aromatics for the confection of the pure anointing oil, and of the fragrant incense, gems of beryl that are gems of perfection, for engraving and insertion in the ephodah and in the breastplate. And they shall make a sanctuary to my name, that my Shekinah may dwell among them. According to all that I show thee, the likeness of the tabernacle and the likeness of all its vessels, so shalt thou make. And they shall make an ark of cedar wood, 2 cubits and a half its length, a cubit and a half its breadth, and a cubit and a half its height. And thou shalt cover it with pure gold within and without, and shalt make upon it a crown of gold round about. And thou shalt cast for it 4 rings of gold, and set them upon its 4 corners, 2 rings for one side, and 2 rings for the second side. And thou shalt make staves of cedar wood, and cover them with gold. And thou shalt introduce the staves into the rings on the sides of the ark, that the ark may be carried upon them. The staves shall be inlaid in the rings of the ark, and not be removed from it. And thou shalt put within the ark the testament that I will give thee. And thou shalt make a Kapportha, mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half the length, and a cubit and a half the breadth, and its depth shall be a handbreadth, pashika. And thou shalt make 2 cherubim, of pure beaten gold shalt thou make them on the 2 sides of the mercy seat. Thou shalt make 1 cherubah on this side, and 1 cherubah on that side of the mercy seat. You shall make the cherubah on its 2 sides. And the cherubah shall stretch forth their wings above, their heads over against each other, their wings overshadowing the mercy seat, and their faces over against each other. Towards the mercy seat shall be the faces of the cherubah. And thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and within the ark thou shalt lay the tables of the testament that I will give thee. And I will appoint my word with thee there, and will speak with thee from above the mercy seat, between the 2 cherubah that are over the ark of the testament, concerning all that I may command thee for the sons of Israel. And thou shalt make a table of cedar wood, 2 cubits its length, and a cubit its breadth, and a cubit and a half its height. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, and make for it a rim of gold round about. And thou shalt make to it a border, a handbreadth high round about, and make a golden wreath for its border round about. And thou shalt make for it 4 golden rings, and set the rings in its 4 corners which are at its 4 feet. Over against the border shall the rings be, for the place of the staves, to carry the table. And thou shalt make its dishes and its spoons, its tankards and its measures, which are for the service of libation. Of pure gold shalt thou make them. And upon the table thou shalt set in order the interior bread before me continually. And thou shalt make a candelabrum. Of pure beaten gold shalt thou make the candelabrum. Its base and shaft, its cups and apples and lilies, shall be of the same. 6 branches shall spread out from its sides, 3 branches of the candelabrum from one side, and 3 branches of the candelabrum on the second side. 3 calyxes adorned with their figurations on one branch, with apple and lily, and 3 calyxes adorned with their figurations on the other branch, with apple and lily. So for the 6 branches that spread out from the candelabrum. And upon the candelabrum there shall be 4 calyxes adorned with their figurations, their apples and lilies. And there shall be an apple under 2 branches of it, and an apple under 2 branches of it, and an apple under 2 branches of it, for the 6 branches which extend from the candelabrum. Their apples and their branches shall be of the same, all of it 1 beaten work of pure gold. And thou shalt make it 7 lights, and the priest who ministers shall kindle the lights, that they may shine over upon its face. And its snuffers and its shovels of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it, and all these its vessels. And look thou, and make according to their forms which thou hast seen in the mount. Chapter 26. And the tabernacle thou shalt make with 10 curtains of fine linen twined, and hyacinth, and purple, and crimson, with figures of cherubim. With the work of the artificer shalt thou make them. The length of one curtain 28 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits. The measure of one shall be that of all the curtains. 5 curtains shall be coupled one with another, and 5 other curtains coupled one with another. And thou shalt make loops of hyacinth upon the edge of one curtain at the side in the place of coupling. And so shalt thou do in the edge of the second curtain in the place of conjoinment. 50 loops shalt thou make in one curtain, and 50 loops shalt thou make in the side of the second curtain in the place of conjoinment, so that the loops may answer one to the other. And thou shalt make 50 taches of gold, and couple the curtains one with another with the taches, and the tabernacle shall be conjoined to be one. And thou shalt make curtains of goat's hair to extend over the tabernacle. 12 curtains thou shalt make them. The length of one curtain 30 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits, and the measure of one shall be that of each of the 11 other curtains. And thou shalt conjoin 5 curtains together, corresponding with the 5 books of the law, and 6 curtains together, corresponding with the 6 orders of the Mishnah, and shalt fold the 6th curtain over the front of the tabernacle. And thou shalt make 50 loops upon the edge of one curtain at the side of the place of coupling, and 50 loops in the edge of the second curtain at the place of coupling. And thou shalt make taches of brass, 50, and put the taches into the loops, and conjoin the tabernacle, that it may be one. And the surplus which remaineth of the curtains of the tabernacle, the half curtain which remaineth, thou shalt spread over the hinder part of the tabernacle. And the cubit here and the cubit there, of that which remaineth in the curtains of the tabernacle, shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle here and there, to cover it. And thou shalt make a covering for the tabernacle of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of purple skins above. And thou shalt make the boards of the tabernacle of citron woods. They shall stand up, after the manner of their plantation. 10 cubits the length of the board, and a cubit and a half the breadth of one board. 2 tenons to one board, each in its side answering to the other. So shalt thou do for all the boards of the tabernacle. And thou shalt make the boards of the tabernacle, 20 boards towards the wind on the south side. And thou shalt make 40 bases of silver beneath the 20 boards, 2 bases beneath one board with its 2 tenons, and 2 bases under the other board with its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle towards the north wind 20 boards, and their 40 bases of silver, 2 bases under one, and 2 bases under the other board. And for the side of the tabernacle westward thou shalt make 6 boards. And 2 boards shalt thou make at the corners of the tabernacle at their ends. And they shall be conjoined beneath, and in one manner shall be conjoined at their heads, with one ring. So shall it be with them both, for the 2 corners shall all they be. And there shall be 8 boards and their silver bases, 16 bases, 2 bases under one board, and 2 bases under another board. And thou shalt make bars of citron woods, 5 for the boards of one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the second side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the side of the tabernacle at their extremity towards the west. And the middle bar in the midst of the boards passing from end to end shall be from the tree which Abraham planted in Berah of Sheba. For when Israel had crossed the sea, the angels cut down the tree and cast it into the sea, and it floated on the face of the waters. And an angel proclaimed, and said, This is the tree which Abraham planted in Berah of Sheba, and prayed there in the name of the word of the Elohim. And the sons of Israel shall take and make thereof the middle bar, 70 cubits in length, and with it shall wondrous things be done. For when they have reared up the tabernacle, it shall go round it like a serpent among the boards of the tabernacle, and when they take it down, it shall become straight as a rod. And the boards thou shalt overlay with gold, and make of gold their rings for the place of the bars, and shalt overlay the bars with gold. And thou shalt rear the tabernacle according to the manner showed thee in the mountain. And thou shalt make a veil of hyacinth, and purple, and crimson, and fine linen entwined. The work of the artificer shalt thou make it, with figures of cherubim. And thou shalt range it upon 4 pillars of sidah, covered with gold, their hooks of gold, upon 4 bases of silver. And thou shalt place the veil under the taches, and bring in thither within the veil the ark of the testament. And thou shalt spread the veil for you between the holy and the holy of holies. And thou shalt place the mercy seat with the cherubim produced of beaten work for it in the holy of holies. And thou shalt set the table outside of the veil, and the candelabrum over against the table on the southern side of the tabernacle, but the table thou shalt arrange on the northern side. And thou shalt make a curtain for the door of the tabernacle, of hyacinth, purple, and crimson, and fine linen twined, the work of the embroiderer. And thou shalt make for the curtain 5 pillars of sitta, and cover them with gold, and their nails shall be of gold, and thou shalt cast for them 5 bases of brass. Chapter 27. And thou shalt make the altar of woods of sitta, 5 cubits the length, and 5 cubits the breadth. Square shall be the altar, and its height 3 cubits. And thou shalt make its horns upon its 4 corners. The horns shall be of it, they shall rise upward, and thou shalt cover it with brass. And thou shalt make its pots to carry away its ashes, and its shovels, and its basins, and its thuribles. All its vessels thou shalt make of brass. And thou shalt make for it a grate of network of brass, and upon the network 4 brass rings upon its 4 corners. And thou shalt place it under the surroundings of the altar, beneath, that the network may be to the middle of the altar, that, if any fragment or fiery coal fall from the altar, it may fall upon the grate, and not touch the ground, and that the priests may take it from the grate, and replace it upon the altar. And thou shalt make staves of citron woods, and overlay them with brass, and thou shalt place the staves within the rings, and the staves shall be on the 2 sides of the altar in carrying the altar. Hollow, with boards filled with dust shalt thou make it, according to what showed thee in the mountain, so shall they make. And thou shalt make the court of the tabernacle. For the southern side shall be hangings of fine linen twined, 100 cubits the length for one side, and its pillars 20, and their foundations 20, of brass, the looks of the pillars, and their rods, of silver. And so for the northern side, for length, the hangings 100 cubits long, and their pillars 20, and their foundations 20, of brass, the hooks of the pillars, and their rods, of silver. And for the breadth of the court on the western side, the hangings shall be 50 cubits, their columns 10, and their foundations 10. And for the breadth of the eastern side eastward 50 cubits, and 15 cubits the hangings of the side, their pillars 3, and their foundations 3. And for the door of the court shall be a veil of 10 cubits of hyacinth, and purple, and crimson, and fine linen twined, of embroidered work, their pillars 4, and their foundations 4. All the pillars of the court round about shall be united with silver rods, their hooks of silver, and their foundations of brass. The length of the court 100 cubits, and the breadth 50 on the west and 50 on the east, and the height 5 cubits, of fine linen twined, and their foundations of brass. All the vessels of the tabernacle in all its service, and all the pins of the court around, of brass.